there can be some people who, they find, I don't know, when I say purpose, that can mean anything. Do you know what I mean? They find a purpose, but it hasn't really necessarily come from some form of pain, or you know what I mean. It can just I don't know. It's come from some sort of realization. Maybe it can come from like a sense of like, okay, I'm just not happy I'm not happy where I'm at. I need to make a change. Just anything. It can be anything, But I do feel like, you know, um, if we are talking about pain, purpose coming from pain, it kind of, again, back to that idea of like having like a framework for your life, like, so for me personally, like going through grief, I feel like it's given me purpose. But also it's kind of made me understand what I want, how I want to direct my life, you know what I mean? So just for a bit more understanding, like losing my parents has given me purpose to continuously like, okay, talk about, loss, so that other people can understand, not, again, my loss, it's not universal, but understand, okay, just to get an account of what loss is like if they've also been through the same type of loss. So like they can understand, okay, look, this is what's happened. I want, my words, whether that's on the podcast, through writing, to kind of resonate with people so that it can help them get through what they get through. And also understand that grief isn't rosy, but even if it's not, but you can still get through it. So for me, I see that as that's like my purpose. I mean, some can say that's like, I don't know, not cliche, but for me, it's just that's how I see things. Do you know what I mean? So I think for me, that's why like that gives me the drive to continuously us keep doing this, continuously like writing about things, because that's what I want. Like that's the only way. And for me, it's also not only it's a purpose. That's the only way I like to honor my parents, and do you know what I mean? So that's how I see it. Like, and I think for me, that's what drives me. So, when I think of life on a deeper level, that's what I want, essentially, to inspire people, help them. Like, again, I'm not saying I'm the first one. We're not the first to have podcasts and people, but like if this can help people, because essentially that's what we want. Do you know what I mean? So that's how I kind of see my life, and when I think of like in terms of purpose, I feel like that's like my purpose. Do you know what I mean? Like how do you kind of see your purpose?
So I'll probably say through this podcast, through the gifts, the talents that God's given me as well. So through like fitness, like you wanna, that's how I get my escapism when I'm going through grief, and obviously my faith in God as well. That's how I find my purpose, and obviously learning to love one another and serve them, and that's how I see this podcast. I see it as a way, as helping people, as serving them, and also other family, friends as well, people that are in my circle that will, inspire me, because some of them do inspire me, to get up and make something out of this life. So yeah, you just learn a lot from people, from close friends that you didn't really know about them. So you just get a bit of inspiration from them, and that's what motivates you to want to do more. So that's where some of the inspiration comes from.
Yeah, and I kind of respect that, because I feel like in life it's nice to have something to direct your life. So like, as I said, with you, it is like, your faith in God, the podcast and fitness, that's some sort of, you have like a framework. I mean, you have something that you're trying to abide by. So those things that are your framework, that kind of determines how you act and where you want to go in life. Do you know what I mean? So like with me, like having this platform, and having this new sense of purpose in order to like continuously share about grief. Like, I feel like it gives me a sense of direction. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like in life it's good to have purpose, and going back to the pain and purpose of like, for me, yes, the two go hand in hand, because that pain has led me to my purpose, and But again, as I said before, I also that that's like a universal thing. Like not everyone, like I don't, like I said, I don't feel like you have to necessarily go through pain to find your purpose. But it's just like that's how it works for me. I feel personally. Like I said, you can go through different things that doesn't necessarily that hasn't resulted in you like suffering in some way or going through some sort of challenging times. Just it can be anything, But I feel like having purpose in life, it feels good because it's something bigger than just the surface level things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And of course, like it feels good understanding like you have something that you're driven by a purpose, and I think that purpose also ties into this idea of like what we initially spoke about, like legacy, like because if you have your purpose, it ultimately kind of determines your legacy because your purpose might be you want to inspire people through a certain way. You want to inspire people through conversation, through writing. Again, that can be your legacy because you can have written so many books about different things as a way of inspiring, and when we're no longer here, those are the things people might remember you by. So your words will always live on. Do you know what I mean? So again, that's how it all starts. So they all kind of linked in some way in it, and and I think it's just it's good to always just think about okay, what do you want out of life? How do you want to be remembered? Again, it's not about trying to please everyone, but also like but you can please the small select few of those people around you. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So the people around you, and that's where it starts because we can't cater to the whole world. Do you know what I mean? Not everyone's gonna like understand what you're doing, what I'm doing, but there's people around you. Those are the people you can cater to because they see you every day. So your family, your friends, what you continuously do, and it's not, and it's always like little things. It's always little things. Again, we spoke so many times about how grief changes you. Grief can change your outlook on life. It can make you more appreciative. It can make you more grateful. All these things, like, they go a long way. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I just feel like, how you want to be remembered, like, that's important. Again, it's a question you got to, like, sit with and just let it sink in, and you start to kind of think of different things, like, put the dots together and say to yourself, this is how I want to be remembered. And, because even when I think about my mum, like, all the things that people told me about her, like all the things she's done, like she was remembered in a good way, and that just, again, that goes back to, that's her legacy, because essentially your legacy is also your character as well, like how she's remembered, and she's remembered in a positive way. So when I think about that makes me good, because again, I'm associated to her. So like people might, how I behave, how I am, or people remember, that's so and so's son, so I remember, look how he's been, look how. So again, all these things are important. We don't have like a limelight around us, but essentially you got to think about these things, how you are. That's how people around you are going to remember you. So it's not, again, it's about the people around you, not the
billboards,
entire world. So that's those are things that I think about. And unfortunately, it's sad that sometimes when we think about these things about legacy and, how do you remember, it's often off the back of death. Sometimes it's never really like, in a moment of when someone is alive. It's usually we remember so much more. We think deeply about this when usually someone's no longer here. And we remember that person even more. Do you know what I mean?
Because people, I think some people just don't learn to appreciate someone that's, there while they're there, but as soon as they go, that's when people realize, oh crap, so and so just passed away, and you realize how short life really is, because people realize that time is ticking, it's not stopping. So you gotta make the most out of in the time that you're here, because you can't replace time, even though you can replace what's the word? Money. So obviously that's just an example, but time, and you can't replace that, because once it's gone, it's gone. So yeah,
exactly. That's always gonna be continuous. That time doesn't wait for anyone, and it's like we can't get it back. Do you know what I mean? The only thing that's certain in life is just change. Because change is only constant. Because we're always gonna go through change, whether like change through grief or whatever it may be. It's always gonna be always gonna be certain, and I think it's important just to, again, so think about, what you wanna, how you wanna be remembered, but also think about like your time here, you know what I mean, and how you wanna just make sure that you live by your own like set of rules that you, again, I go back to this idea of framework. You have your framework, so like for example, like I'm big on gratitude, man. Like for me, like it's so mad, yeah. Like, I'm not saying I wasn't grateful before, but for me now, gratitude is like that's such a big thing for me. It's not even a little thing; it's a big thing.
Yeah.
And I know you said before that sometimes, we wanna treat people how you want to be treated, but sometimes, unfortunately, that's not always gonna happen. You can treat someone so good, or you treat them how you want to be treated, but it doesn't mean that person's gonna treat you the same way.
Yeah, some things are just not gonna be enough.
Do you know what I mean?
For some people, even if you give more and then they don't, you gotta move on, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't work.
And that's why I feel like with gratitude, it's always like the little things. I'm always appreciative of, because of a little thing. And do you know why? The reason why? Because no one has to do anything, whether that's like your family, your friends. And I think sometimes we need to understand, that just because someone is your friend or family doesn't mean they're automatically entitled to do A, B, C for you. They're not. No one owes us anything. And I think sometimes we kind of get lost in that by thinking, because this person's my friend and they've done this for me, that it means that I'm entitled. We're not entitled to anything. So like, for example, for a bit of clearer context, like if you invite me to stay at your house because I have no place to go.
Yeah.
I haven't asked you, but you're like, Jay, come stay as long as you want. And I managed to sort myself out. And I was like, and I just leave. Not even a thank you. I've not shown you any gratitude whatsoever. Yeah. Like, how would you feel about that?
You probably feel, oh wow, this guy was a bit rude,
Exactly. Yeah. But in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, but that's my friend, so he has to do that. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to do anything. So for me, again, gratitude can be shown in so many ways. I can be like, you know what, I really appreciate you letting me stay. But I know in my heart, listen, you had my back, I'm gonna have your back if ever needs be. So for me, that's so important, because you don't understand, like literally, like in a world where like you're blessed with so many friends who have resources or who have things that they can help you. You can't take that lightly, man. Do you know what I mean? So like that's why for me, gratitude is always a thing of like, it's everything, man. It's not nothing, it's everything. So I think like it's important not to be too entitled, And I said this all the time, even when when we started the podcast, the likes of like Amber, Shuma, Poppy, like just showing us so much. They don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to. They can just like, okay, yeah, okay, cool. Another Grief podcast. Oh, that's great, and go about their day. But them like sharing. Oh, these two guys talking about these things. That's important. That's why I always tell Amber, listen, I'm always grateful, always grateful, always grateful. Even though I sound like a broken record, always grateful, because like you don't have to do anything. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm always
shout out Amber.
Yeah, exactly.
You listen to this.
I'm always grateful. It's the same, and it's the same with even all the guests that have come on. Even all the guests, thank you for all the guests that have come on. And if you're hearing this now, thank you, because they don't have to. You know what I'm trying to say? So our way of being thankful is thank you for coming on, and it's normal etiquette when guests come on. I appreciate you coming on. It's just like it's a standard, because you don't have to. You don't owe us anything. You know what I'm saying? Even though they might have been through grief themselves, but they don't owe us anything. So them wanting to come on, I'm appreciative. So I think like gratitude is something that, and gratitude doesn't have to mean that you don't necessarily have to have gone through grief to be grateful or to show gratitude. I think it should be an everyday thing, and that's why I just feel like nowadays, honestly, like where I can just show it, man, and it costs nothing.
It doesn't. No.
Do you know what I mean? It can cost something, if you however you want to express that gratitude, but ultimately it costs nothing, like, and express it where you can. Listen, thank you for, and that's why I always say to people, like, I'm always appreciative when they do something for me, no matter how low it is, because you don't have to do it. Do you know what I mean? So I just think that's so key, man, these days. Like, and I feel like you don't get enough, because you know, like I feel like we're actually so fortunate to you know, be in a position where we can speak about these things. You know, we had people who have helped us, you know, along this journey, by supporting us, by inviting us to various events. I'm all grateful for that, because no one had to do anything, you know. So yeah, gratitude, man. Listen, it goes a long way, man.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, something that I kind of write, you know, things I'm grateful for as well, because it changes your outlook in life. You're much more optimistic. You're more grateful, and obviously you appreciate the people more around you. When you go through grief, it changes your whole complete mindset, you know. So that's something that I've learned about being, you know, showing gratitude.
Yeah, gratitude, it costs nothing, nothing whatsoever, like, you know. And yeah, and that's how I want to be personally, man, you know, like, and it's not necessarily about doing things just like, and I think that's another thing as well, like, we should show gratitude because it's the right thing, not because we want to get something in return.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's another thing as well, you know, like, I'm just grateful because, you know, you've helped me out. Of course, like, yes, you know, like, I'm showing gratitude because you helped me out, and if I'm in a position to help you in the same way, I would. But if I can't, I might show it in another way. So I feel like you just do it because, you know, that's your way of saying thank you. You know, but and I do get that, you know, a lot of the time in life things may seem very transactional, you know, in life, but always be grateful and for people doing things for you. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes, you know, like, when we do things, again, don't do it because you're expecting it. You know, you should do it because you want to do it. Do you know what I mean? It should be it's come from a good place.
And I think there's a difference between being kind and being nice, because obviously, even though they sound the same, but they're not really the same. That they're different. So being kind, the way, well, how I see it is doing things even though, let me just rephrase it again. So, doing things for someone, or telling the truth about something, even though you know it's gonna hurt, but you need to tell them, because if you don't, then they might, you know, make that mistake again. So that's how I see being kind. And obviously a lot of leaders, some leaders won't use it, some people will, but it depends how you use the approach when it comes to being kind. And I think being nice is more of doing it just because it's the person, like, you want to do it, or you're trying to, or there's a motive behind what you're doing.
Yeah, that's what
so for example, when you like give a present or something, but you feel like you don't really need to do it, but you do it because you know, you just want to show some support. But some people might see it another way, or they think, oh, what's the motive here? Why are you being so nice, you know? And
you know, I'm glad you brought it up, because I feel like you're right. The two aren't synonymous. The two aren't the same, because being kind is, now being nice is, like, I kind of see it as you're trying to, there's an end goal you want to achieve. So maybe, like, you know, like, for example, I might say I'm a Chelsea supporter, and I know you always have season tickets.
Yeah.
And I'm just, all of a sudden, I'm just start being like, oh yeah, yo, what do you need? Do you need anything? Just start just being nice to you, because I know I want those tickets.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like I don't know if that's a good example, but that's how I kind of see it. Like, being nice at times, often there's an end result.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And being kind is just, that's just who you are. Behind closed doors, the action you do or how you treat people, that's just being kind. So someone can be nice. You know, you can be like I can go to a job interview and be nice.
Yeah.
And, you know, because you're gonna put your best foot forward. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's who I am. I'm just doing what I can because I know the end result, which is to get the job. So, you know, I'm gonna do what I can to put my best foot forward. And that's why sometimes, even with people and friends, we can have friends who are nice. You know, I mean, I like to think most of our friends are good. You know, but you can have people who are nice to you. Just because they're nice to you doesn't necessarily mean they're, how can I put it? They can be nice to you, but doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, they have your best interest at heart. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, you're right. I'm glad that the two definitely aren't the same. And it can be quite hard to differentiate, but I just feel like, like gratitude, being nice, being kind. Again, gratitude, like that's, again, it's not hard to express gratitude. Yeah, sometimes you can being nice and being kind can be conflated, but being nice, it's fine. Being nice, but for me, I always say this, and I'm talking to myself here, like, do things because you genuinely want to do it.
Yeah.
When you start doing it because, oh, okay, cool, if I do this, maybe they can help me with this. It's that when it becomes all strategic, then it's not coming from a good place. You know what I'm trying to say? Because you're doing it because you want to earn results. Just do it. You know what? I'm doing this and I'm expecting nothing in return. And I think sometimes that's where disappointment comes, because we do so many things because I expect them to do it. Don't run. Like, I understand it to a degree where, like, you do something nice, but if you have my back in the example of I said of you, let me stay at your house. That's a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
As a friend, you're helping me out. But I know I'll do the same for you as well. Do you know what I'm saying? But I think sometimes we shouldn't be so fixated on doing stuff because the other person do it for us, but just do it because you genuinely want to help that person. Do you know what I mean? You genuinely want to be, you know what? This costs nothing. This is nothing to me. I want to just, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think another example could be is when you're opening the door for someone, and then obviously you want them to say thank you, but they don't say it, or some people
you be pissed like, what?
They're just not aware.
Like, this little shit they must tell me thank you for opening the door. So you're like, but again, you're doing it because you're nice. You might not get a thank you, but you know what? I said, nice. I'm trying to,
it's just manners, general
exactly.
Manners. You want to just, be kind, or because you respect yourself, you want to
exactly.
respect others as well.
And that's where, like, I feel like when we, even if, like, those listening and watching, that's if you can just take something from well, I hope you've taken a lot, but if you can just, if you narrow things down, just like focusing on that, okay, like gratitude, being kind, being nice, and again, I put those things because those things that I feel like are quite important and they're good for character development, but also when it comes to gratitude, it costs nothing, and I keep saying that because, like, it's not something, like, the fact that it costs you nothing, it should be easy to show gratitude, but sometimes, like, unfortunately, people are entitled, and like I said, for me personally, I've just realized, you know what? Even with family, like I know, like, there's so much help I've had from family in so many different ways, and I'm grateful. I'm not like oblivious to it because we're family and that's what you should do. No, you don't have to do anything. You know what I'm trying to say? Like that's what people need to understand. Like no one has to do anything. Like no one owes anyone anything. Do you know what I mean? So where you can be appreciative, show that gratitude, and I think it's good to have these frameworks to be guided by these things, because it goes a long way, man. I feel, so yeah, man, I think we've spoken on quite a lot. I think I do hope that people have gathered something from it. Again, like we're not, like, I won't say we're preaching to people, but it's just more so that I'm taking to myself here as well. So I'm the one trying to take my own advice too. But I think that's important to understand, and just, again, like I said before, how do you want to be remembered? That's the question I want people to think about. And really just, like, sit with it, even if, like, hit us up in, I don't know if it's a question that can be answered quickly, but even if you have an idea, like, hit us in the comments on this video, or DM us, or wherever it may be, but just really think about that question. How do you want to be remembered? Like, it's quite, it seems simple, but it's quite deep, something that requires a lot of
a lot of thinking,
so on that note, I want to appreciate everyone for listening and watching. Thank you for all those who's been, all our guests who've actually come on and engage in conversation with us about their story, about various different topics. We appreciate it. Like I said, no one has to do anything. So, like, even the fact that you've come on, I appreciate, just allowing us to have this kind of these conversations, and people who've supported us. Like I'm very always going to be grateful. So for those of you who've been listening and watching, one thing that would really appreciate if you guys follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, subscribe on all those platforms, but also watch us on YouTube and subscribe. that goes a long way too. And just share with your friends, people who you feel might benefit from these conversations, because again, it means a lot to us, you know, and we know no one has to do anything, so we will appreciate if you do, you know. And what other stuff do I want to say? But that's about it. I don't know if you've got anything else.
So I'll probably just want to say key takeaways that we've learned is being grateful, showing gratitude, leaving a legacy. What do you want to be remembered for? Because that's really important. So those are the tips that we've just